I'm in the tea garden and I'm gonna grab my harvest basket because I have never been so thirsty in my life. My relationship with hydration is so different now. Like over the last year or two, I cannot drink enough water, and I'm trying. Like there's just no limit to the amount of water I can drink, and so I really want to start trying to incorporate like big mason jar jugs of stuff that's more flavored, so I'm more likely to drink more of it, but also because I feel like when you put stuff in your water, it's more hydrating. So I don't know. I'm gonna grab the basket from the greenhouse. So we're gonna make a mint cooler called a limonana, which is a Middle Eastern beverage with tons of mint blended with ice and citrus. And while we're doing that, I thought we'd kind of talk about growing mint because it's a good, easy one to grow in your tea garden. It's one I cover in the ebook along with like the 24 other plant profiles. But the way you grow mint is either going to make you love growing mint or hate growing mint. So I want to make sure that you love it because it is a really wonderful plant to have in your tea garden. It's very medicinal. It has great flavor. It's super multi-purpose because you can use it in culinary applications too. And I have mountain mint in another part of the yard, which is a native perennial that I love to have. It just has this beautiful crisp flavor to it and the pollinators are obsessed with it. But today I'm going to show you my mint container. It's actually right back here, and you can see I've got it kind of quarantined from the rest of the tea garden because it's a big nuisance. It's kind of a spreader. If you've been here a while, you might recognize this container. This is a 24-inch whiskey barrel that I planted a full container tea garden in to demonstrate to you how you can do that. And that was a really fun project, but I did go ahead and plant mint in that container, which I don't recommend doing if you want anything else to grow successfully in it because it will just outcompete everything. The only thing that's really managed to get a foothold here is this sage, which is kind of funny. So all of this overwinters here in zone 6B. All of your mints are going to overwinter down to like zone 3. They'll die back, but they'll come back because they're just really easy to grow, unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it. And I have 2 types of mint in here, but the tall one that you're seeing with the really fuzzy leaves is my apple mint, and I'm going to be using mostly that today. So even though this is in its own container, because if you put it in a container with anything else, it's going to outcompete it and you'll never get rid of it, I still need to regularly cut it back before it flowers because those seeds could spread throughout the yard. It roots really easily too. So this right here is actually banana mint. It's a much lower, the stems are a lot softer, the leaves are smoother. The apple mint leaves have a lot more texture, but both of them can flop over, as you can see, and they could start rooting anywhere in the ground. And this piece is actually, I can feel this is coming up through a hole in the planter itself. So you really can't be too careful with your mint. So I'm just going through and cutting back the plant by about 1/3. And they're both kind of intermingled here, so I'm sure I'm gonna get a little bit of each, but I'm trying to focus on the apple mint today. The banana mint is flowering though, so I do want to cut back a few of those flowering pieces as I'm going along. Mint is actually one of the few things for herbs and for your tea garden in general that is going to do well even in partial shade. So if you have a spot in your garden that you're like, I don't even know what to plant here, you can plant mint in partial shade. Okay, we only need about 1/4 cup to make like a single serving of this recipe. As for types that you might want to consider growing, I definitely say the mountain mint, if it's native to your area, is my favorite mint to grow. You can also grow peppermint and spearmint. Peppermint has the highest menthol. It's the most medicinal. Spearmint is a little bit sweeter and lighter, and it's best for like culinary uses. Chocolate mint's a really fun one. It smells exactly like the name implies. Of course, I have apple mint and banana mint. Honestly, they're not really my favorite kinds of mint, but it's like once you plant them, what can you do? I'd have to throw out that soil because if a single piece of the root remained in it and I tried to reuse it for something else, the mint would just grow back. But apple mint has these fuzzy leaves and it's a more mild flavor and it looks really good in flower arrangements too. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can use it for that. It's great greenery. If you want it to kind of look like it's part of your garden, you could try doing like a buried pot and put it in the ground but contained within that pot. The only thing is like it's so close to the ground, like if any seeds fall or if any pieces droop down and root outside of that container, you're gonna have mint everywhere. If you want to do just like a regular mint tea with fresh leaves, you can bruise the leaves first, and then you just want to steep it covered for like 5 to 7 minutes. And if you're drying the leaves for tea, you do want to harvest it before flowering for the maximum like oils, which are the flavor compounds and medicinal compounds in the plant. And I like to dry it in bundles upside down. So you just do like small bundles like this and just hang them somewhere in a cool, dry, dark place. It blends really well with chamomile, lemon balm, hibiscus, any kind of fruit, like if you've got like dried orange peel. And especially if you're like an IBS girly or you have any sort of digestive issues, mint is such a great beginner herb to start experimenting with because it is so good for digestion. It can also help with headaches and nausea. So it's just a really great all-around plant to have, and it's kind of villainized because it spreads so easily, but sometimes I think the garden is like telling us what we need, right? So if something is appearing really aggressively all over the place, I'm always like, is there a reason you're here? Probably. All right, I'm gonna go in the greenhouse so we can make this drink. This is where you're gonna see one of my bad habits because I have all these recipes, everything measured out perfectly. I look things up, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do this. And then when I get down to it, I'm like, do I really need to follow the instructions? So I'm not measuring, but I'm gonna put measurements down in the description if you wanna make this correctly yourself. And we don't want the stem from this because it's really like woody. Some of these lower ones aren't looking so hot. We've been in a drought, so. And the Japanese beetles love a snack. Just use the top portions, anything that looks pretty, until I have like, I don't know, just fill the rest. So I know a big part of why I'm having this hydration thing is because I'm nursing, but like largely I just feel like I am reacting to heat totally differently than I used to, and just like pouring sweat, and I just really don't feel good if I'm not actively hydrating. And so I've been trying to incorporate a lot more electrolytes. So many of them are full of garbage. Not a fan. So I found one that I really like. And then I think traditionally you're supposed to use lemon juice. I'm actually totally out, and you should also use fresh lemon juice. But listen, I have a 7-month-old. This is as good as it's gonna get. You can also add sweetener to this, but I just want something really tart and cold and refreshing. So I am going to do this. Just screw this on, and then it like has an auto setting, so I'm so excited for this. Whoops. Oh my god. You'd think I would learn, but no. It's really tart without the sugar in it, but it's so cold and refreshing. This is exactly what I hoped it would be. Like, it's pulpy. I like that. I want to feel like I'm kind of eating my drink. I feel like this would be a really good popsicle too. The only other thing I will say about growing mint, and really like any herb, is especially if you're like low maintenance gardening and you have some kind of time or energy limitation or whatever, to grow it from a plant from like a really reputable nursery, not from seed, because a lot of the herbs take a really long time to start from seed. Especially in a short growing season like ours, you would have to start it really early. And like, it's really just like a one-time investment, because once you have one, either it's mint and it's gonna spread all on its own, no matter whether you want it to or not. Or things like lavender and rosemary and sage can really be easily propagated if you want more of them. So even if you just have a friend who has one that you can propagate from, I would recommend doing that over starting it from seed. I don't know how to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it what it feels like to drink something or eat something that you have tended to and nurtured and grown and gotten to know even over multiple seasons. Like, this mint plant has been in my garden, this specific one, for years, and it continues to provide for me and just thrive pretty much all on its own. And that is why I love perennials so much. You really get to know them, and they grow with you. That was a big reason why I wanted to do the How to Grow a Tea Garden book, because I wanted to make it feel really accessible, and I wanted to make it feel like you were empowered to try these things, because it's a lot easier than I think people let on. So when I made the guide, I didn't want it to be just like a here is how to do the thing. Although it does have that information, it's more like coming from my lived experience, and the overarching theme is more that you're learning the entire herbal apothecary process over the course of an entire year. Not just the peak growing season, but how to process and dry the plants, and then how to blend them, because I feel like that's the part where people get stuck and then your stuff just goes to waste. But even within that, I want you to feel like you know the framework, you know the quote unquote rules, so that you know how to break them. This is something that I did when I was learning photography too. It's like you need to learn the rule of thirds, how to frame a picture, so that you know when that rule does and does not need to be followed. It shouldn't be something that intimidates you and makes it harder to get started. And sometimes I think we get way too in our heads and too intellectual about things, especially when it comes to plants. I'm growing through a season of my life where I'm questioning not who I am anymore, because I feel like that was very much a thing I did as a teenager. It was like, who am I? And then in my mid-20s, I was like, this isn't the question. I don't know. But just kind of remembering what my values and my priorities are and why I do what I do. And when I can interact with a plant in this way, where it's really simple, but it also brings me great joy. It's kind of like a, oh yeah moment, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't know, maybe the garden doesn't feel that way for everybody, but I do think that's a big part of why a lot of us do garden. Look at that color. Only in nature, man. I'm obsessed. Well, I hope that this was helpful. What I really want you to take away from this is to just get something in the ground and then use it. No matter what it is, no matter how simple it is, stop the negative self-talk of like, what's the point? This is gonna be too hard. If it's not special, why even do it? Just do the thing. And I think you will find that the garden is really good at unpacking any perfectionist tendencies that you might have, and will probably teach you things that you never could have expected. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you want to see future videos like this one. It really helps to support the channel. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions about growing mint, about growing a tea garden, about life. I really do want to chat and connect with you, and the comment section is the best place for us to do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.